Hello and welcome. This is Kristin from Life of Crafting, and I'm bringing to you some of the projects and things I worked on when I was down for my week and a half away in Ocean City, New Jersey. I go down every year with my friend Vicky, and there's a weekend event called Scrap Away Getaway, and there's probably about 150, 200 women in this room, and they do a lot of scrapbooking. But Vicky and I like to do cards, and what I found is that I like to go down about a week ahead of time and stay at the hotel, and it's a beautiful resort. And I just stay, they're like an efficiency kind of room. So there's plenty of room for me to do stuff. And I like to go down and just do cards and, nap, read, whatever, I feel like doing at the time. So it's my week for myself. And one of those days, I'll usually have my friend Julie comes over, and we love Tim Holtz, and we love to create some of his projects. And when his new stuff comes out, I usually don't have too much time to play with it. But in an event like this one, it was really good because there was a Facebook group called Tim Holtz Addicts, and in there a Bernadette bowl. And hello, Bernadette, if you come in and see my video. I really liked her presentation of what she did with his vintage Sled die. This was one he just brought out in 2023. The details on this are phenomenal. I'm going to show you some of what I put together. Like I said, this was me playing with it for the first time and trying to also do some things that were, trying to mimic what she's doing and just kind of having fun, being creative. So in her version of this card, she had the new embossing folder that he put out that was the pine boughs that look like they're peeking in. And she also had the new stamp set, which I thought I had. I thought I had it so much that I even bought the matching die from Simon Says stamp for it, and I don't even have that tree. This was the new tree stamp that he brought out in 2023 as well, so I still do have to get that. And what I didn't realize, and I like to do this, is I like to do a concept card, is I believe she did this in a 5x7, looking at how much space she has on top of, because if you look, I'm pretty close in scale to what she's got there. She's got a lot more room, so this has to be a 5x7 card. She didn't give a whole lot of explanation in what she used. She did say about the paints that she used or what colors of ink she used, but other than that, I did not get much information. So I went through and I started trying to make myself a list of the things I thought what she had, a shopping list of stuff, because I really wasn't playing with this until I got down to Ocean City, and I'm not home at this point. And, my friend Julie does come from her home, but she doesn't have a lot of stuff that is some of this, stuff that goes in this. It's hit or miss for her as well as myself as to what she has or what I may have. So I try to bring what I can, and then we work through it when we get there. So I did not have the embossing folder. So what I did was I die cut out in white some pine boughs that I had in a die, and I just glued them on, again, trying to create this and get myself an idea as to, how do I mass produce this card, or do I even want to mass produce? Sometimes you do these and I realize that there's so much work, I'm happy I'm only making one or two of them. So having said that, I had to go through and learn this as well. And some of the things I'll go through is some of the mistakes I made, and some of the things I realized. So when I went through this card, like I said, I did the white. I had a blending brush with some green on it from doing the background that I just used that to give myself a little bit of the edges to try and mimic, again, the green coming through the white on that. And to do this technique, you need a brayer. And the brayer I've had is, I wound up giving it away on the swap table from this weekend because I never was able to do this technique well. So I do have to put on my shopping list to try and pick up his brayer because I just cannot do this. I had to bring in, this I believe was a Stampin' Up die that I could get to try and get as close to doing the tree as I could. But the details on his tree, I'm just seeing like pieces of it poke through here that are just phenomenal. You just don't get that with the others. And I have not done a whole lot of blending with the Oxide inks and stuff. I really like how she's got some of the coloring coming through. I don't know if she did a lift-off technique or if she just used a lot more of the lighter color, which I believe probably was the shabby shutters underneath. I did try to rough up the edges of the paper and do some just, brown. I think I did vintage photo around the edges. But what I came to realize after I got it down and everything is that my distressing of the paper really wasn't that heavily done, and I probably would like to do it more. I was doing this on Hobby Lobby's extra heavyweight cardstock, and he does say that the paper makes a difference as well. So I'm wondering in the next version of this that I may try this on some like Bristol Smooth, or I don't have his papers. I generally do so much in volume that I just don't, in my mind, justify buying his papers because there isn't a whole lot to it. And generally when I make cards, I'm making at least a dozen of a certain card. And I just looked at this and wonder if it would come out probably better with using some of his papers. So then getting into the Sled. I made this one and I realized after I made it that I did something here because this is what the die looks like. And I'm going to go through another version of this, putting it together. But I will say that you get some of these things and they're kind of hard to figure out. And I got to this point and I really wasn't sure. But I realized after I looked at the cover and I looked at hers that I made the mistake of putting this piece up on top of that part that you hold on to and you use for direction on the sled. And it really needs to go like this. It needs to go underneath. So that was a mistake I made, and it was just like, oh well. Like I said, the other mistake was I did this on an A2, the 4¼ by 5½, and I really think this needs to go on a bigger card. I think this needs to go on a 5×7. And the other thing was, trying to dissect from her picture, I think I was able to mimic her version of the paper well enough. And I just did it with a red. This was actually a textured paper. I don't know if you can see my texturing in there, but it doesn't really matter. I just did a red. I brought in some chocolate brown for the sides of the runner and for this part here. And I don't even know what exactly all these pieces are, but maybe this is the part. No, this must be, I think this is the part here that you change direction with. And so I did those two in the brown. And then I wasn't really sure what to do to get the wood on here. So I just took my white paper and cut it out, and I just used vintage photo and walnut stain, and I just seriously with the blending brush just did random, and I just tried to go with a light hand on it. And then unfortunately, like this one got some glue on it, so now I'm going to have to see if I can cover that up. But I made several of these with the expectation, obviously, that I was going to do more cards, and then it was just, I was running out of gas at that point. So my friend had his paper that was the colored, and she did this in brown, and then she did brushing on top of it, and she really liked my version better. I don't have recollection of how much difference it looked like. I was very happy with how this came out, but I do like it better with a heavier hand on the blending. So, and then I've said it before, I buy in the poster board section at Hobby Lobby like a silver foil, but it's not like the bright shiny, it's more of a brushed look to it. And I don't know if you can tell in the paper, in the pictures, they give the appearance of like a nail head perfectly. His attention to detail with adding these little things are phenomenal. I mean, he just does such a great job. And there's like even smaller ones versus the larger ones. And you do really want to get yourself one of these embellishment wands that has like the wax on the edge, because you're going to drive yourself nuts if not. But I wouldn't skip that step. I really felt like they just finished this whole thing off. So that was what came with the Sled. Now this was the mini holiday greens, I think it's called, die set. And I unfortunately don't own that. I purchased one since you was doing this, and I just don't have it here yet. So I was able to die cut some of these out of different greenery papers that I had. I'm trying to kind of give you an idea like what is part of that. And it would be these parts here. So I just used different greens, and then I tried to use my blending brushes to add some definition by going over different sections. And some of them, like, I don't know if this one is showing up very well. I used some brown to give like the veining. I like this die because it had extra ones like this that was a leaf that came where you could add it on where you wanted it separately. And then the other thing was there was this piece here. Now I added these little red, these were a little berry die cut that was on a different die that I was doing down there at the time. And they were just a bunch of extra little ones, and I threw them on here. I'm missing actually one here, I'm realizing now. We were talking when we were down there, we were just going to do like red stickles or something, because they really looked like they needed, I don't know if hers shows, she's got the berries here, but you just don't see them. So we just felt that, you know, when we were talking, we wanted to do something to put the red on the edge, and they just happened to come up later in my crafting. So I said, you know what, there you go. So I do like them being added on. Unfortunately, his die does not give that in there. I'm sure you could just die cut out of a red paper or something and cut them off those stems easily enough. That would be so easy to do. And then she's using like one of his tiny bells. I went with these ones I've had in my stash forever. They're just a much smaller size. I thought they would be good. And this was just like a regular like baker's twine. And it's the brighter white and red. I used the blending brush with the browns I still had left on it from doing this stuff. And I just distressed to get this to look so it wasn't so bright, the twine. So this is what I have completed for now. I really liked how these came out. I will tell you that, you know, you're going to have to do some die cutting, but a lot of the die cutting can be done in batches. Like, you know, like I said, like the greens, just take different greens. Take your scrap papers out. Yeah, sorry about that. Take your scrap papers out and just use them up. I would probably love to do just a lot of these greens and just have them as backups. Because you're looking, there's a holly one in here. There's this berry. There's another one in here that's more of a pine bell. And just die cut them up and throw them in there, and, you know, just be so happy. She did, I should mention too, she did have his mica flakes to put on here, and I do have them on there, but honestly, I don't feel like you really use them much. She must be using his new, the texture paste on here, because you can actually see like white. This doesn't show up. These are more clear. So I feel like the mica flakes would be good, but on top of like the texture paste, which I didn't have down there. My intention when I go through to do something more with these is I will be, oh, this tells you how small these things are. Here is that berry that I just said like came off, and it's seriously right here. So that tells you how small these things are. They're like the size of a pencil. So I'll have to glue that back on. But I hope you like these. I was very happy with the outcome of this. I do see he provides some greeneries in there. I just liked her version a little bit better. I liked how they came down. They were a little bit more full down here. So I will be making more. I don't know that I'm going to be doing it in this background version, but I will definitely be doing more with the sleds, and I will do a video putting them together. So I'm hoping you're enjoying this wrap-up video from my weekend away. If you do, I would appreciate some thumbs up. Please leave some comments down below. Let me know if you have any questions on these or what you're enjoying about the series, and I will catch you next time. Bye.